hope you understood that, guys. Then moving on to tip 4, that is changes in modals. This, it would be better if you keep all these points in your mind when you are converting from one form to other. So first is can changes into could. That is in direct speech, he said I can swim. When you convert this into indirect speech, it will become he said that he could swim. Okay, so can changes into could. I guess you understood that. Then may changes into might. So in direct speech, he said I may buy a house. So when you convert this into indirect speech, it will be like he said that he might buy a house. So may changes into might. Then must changes into had to would have to. Okay, so there are different things in that. So we'll just take an example. He said I must work hard. So must will change to had to. So in indirect speech, it will become he said that he had to work hard. So had will change to would have to or had to. Must will change to had to or would have to. Then other thing is models that do not change. This, just listen carefully, guys. Models that do not change are would, could, might, should, and ought to. So 6 things. First, indirect speech, he said I should face the challenge. So it will remain the same. In indirect speech, it will become he said that he should face the challenge. I hope you understand, guys. We'll just summarize. The changes in modals are can will change to could, then may might will change to might, then must will change to had to or would have to. Then most important thing while converting is you have to remember the models that will not change. That is would, could, might, should, and ought to. These 5 words just keep in mind while you are converting from direct to indirect. Then we'll move on to the 5th tip, that is conversion of interrogative. So the reporting verb like said or said to changes to asked or inquired or demanded. Take an example. He said to me, what are you doing? So when you convert this to indirect speech, he said will change to he asked me what I was doing. So this is a thing you have to remember. Then if sentence begin with auxiliary verb, the joining clause should be if or whether. Okay, so he said, will you come for the meeting? So in indirect speech, it will become he asked them whether they would come for the meeting. So said will become asked, and if there is an auxiliary verb, it will be if or whether depending on the sentence. Next, the thing is if sentence begin with WH, that is where, who, what, question words, then no conjunction is used as the question word itself acts as a joining clause. So I hope you get that, or we'll just take an example to simplify that. Where do you live? Asked the girl. So where is a WH word it's a question word, right? So there'll be no conjunction used when you're converting from direct to indirect. So the girl inquired where I lived. So to summarize the 5th tip is when there's a reporting verb like said or said to, it will just change to asked or inquired or demanded. In the same way, if there's an auxiliary verb used, then the joining clause should be if or whether. Then if the sentence begins with the question word, that is WH, make sure you don't add any other conjunction because the question word itself acts as a joining clause.